My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. You are going to be out. You are going to be bigger and larger than ever. Imagine the impossible. And you know why? Because just you and I will find the power that's been dormant inside of you all of this time. And all of this time, you were afraid to go out. No longer will that be the case. You will be sharp. You will be the God when God is something. You will be the one that everybody turns to and says, hey, look, they're there. The master's there. The teacher's there. There's the one that will make my life different. And who am I to do that? Remember, this time is something. I'm here to help you. I'm here to change you. I'm the master. No longer leaders. And you to get my way to accomplish those things. Only you know everything you imagine is possible. You become possible for one simple reason. And it is possible. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different.
And welcome to another program of Uncommon Sense, where we deal with topics that have to do with a different way of thinking, a different way of being, an ability to be able to switch between mental and emotional states, an ability that will allow you to live your best life on this planet. This program is not selling anything, and there's nothing to sell. Nothing that I'm going to create, but I'm going to turn down this a little bit, the gain, so that you don't hear too much of a feedback from here. So let me start by thanking the early watches, the people I can count on. Lawrence, welcome into the studio, and Josephine, welcome into the studio as well for another program of Uncommon Sense. Today, I want to talk about something that adds to miracle consciousness also at the same time. And as we start to pay attention to many things that are happening in our lives, you have to understand that the mind, I keep saying to everybody, the mind is everything. But what if you are overwhelmed or swamped with emotional feelings and states that you cannot change? What do you do? Well, there are several different ways in which you can do that. I found myself many years ago, I'm talking like 30 years ago, sitting with a few friends at a dinner table in a university setting, and the conversation had turned to body language, and we talked about who was the expert in body language that could deliver a seminar or talk. At that time, we were not called seminars, and we wanted to be able to see which of us knew more about it, and we wanted to know how body language actually affected our moods. Now, mind you, this is 30 plus years ago. Now, I proposed a simple experiment, which the other two guys accepted when we were sitting there. So I put a huge, big, all my teeth bared grin on my face, and I said to one of my friends, you put a heavy frown on your face. And the third one, I said, just be yourself and see what happens. Now, we have to do this like 15 minutes. So over the next course of the next few minutes, very interesting what happened, actually. I started having a very good time. It was crazy. I just started feeling good about the situation. I started feeling good about everybody. My mind started coming up with all kinds of jokes that I'd forgotten over the time. And I was laughing and enjoying myself. But the friend that had the frown, well, he started to feel very grumpy and pissed. And he started complaining about a lot of things. And we were just trying to be as normal as we could. And of course, nothing happened to the third guy. But we eventually stopped the experiment before we reached the 15-minute mark because of the toll it took on that friend who was making the grin, the grimace. And so it taught us something, actually. The only downside for me was that holding that grin for 15 minutes, my cheek hurts. But I was laughing anyway. I was having a good time. So everybody knows that your mental state affects the way you hold your body. An unhappy or depressed person will slouch. like this, and they'll start looking at the ground, and because that's where your emotional states are all anchored. But some people don't realize that the opposite is also true. It's a feedback mechanism. Your physiology, the way in which you hold your body, affects your neurology, which is your entire body, which then also affects your brain, which affects eventually your psychology, your way of thinking, and the emotional states you find yourself. So putting a smile on your face no matter what actually makes you feel happier. So try the experiment for yourself, because it's all in good that the experiment I told you about, it works on an intellectual level, but you won't truly internalize the idea until you try it for yourself. In fact, do a little experiment right now, something you can try for yourself. I mean, really, give it a shot. As you're listening to me talk, because you want to change your life. And guess what? Changing your life takes action. You have to take some kind of action. Just passively listening to me and hoping it will change is kind of like listening to a cooking lesson on YouTube, or watching a cooking lesson and somehow expecting to become a master chef without actually cooking any of the recipes. So this is what I propose. First, think of something that makes you mildly to moderately uncomfortable. On a scale of 0 to 10, scale of discomfort, where 0 means, sleepy, nothing, and 10 means, oh my God, this would be about what you're feeling might be between a 3 to a 6 maybe. So take the time to really picture the scene. And then as you're really getting into the scene, just imagine the scene, stop for a minute and notice how uncomfortable you felt on the 0 to 1 scale. And remember that number. Remember, you're thinking of something that makes you moderately or mildly uncomfortable. Now, next, I'd like you to stand tall and straight with your feet firmly on the ground, shoulder wide apart. And if you're in a situation where you can't stand up or just sit up straight, just like me. Pull your shoulders back and hold your head up high like a king or an emperor. And now take 3 very slow breaths. And after that, keep breathing deeply and put a big smile on your face. Now, this might feel silly to you. Well, good. In fact, it's excellent. It means that, doing this is unfamiliar to you, which means you will learn something by doing this exercise anyway. So holding exactly this body language, standing up tall or sitting up straight and your shoulders pulled back, head up high, breathing deeply and smiling. Think of the same situation as before, the mildly uncomfortable situation I asked you earlier. And make sure that you keep the same body language as you're thinking of that same mildly discomforting thought. And keep breathing deeply. Now, after thinking about the same situation for a few moments, notice how you feel and how uncomfortable you are on a scale of 0 to 10. You will find that you simply cannot recreate those feelings in their full strength. It's going directly against the wiring in your neural system to feel uncomfortable while holding comfortable, confident body language. It's impossible. Now that you truly get how this works, let's bring out the real trump card. Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to use that word, but the what if game. We play a what if game. This is part of cognitive behavioral therapy. I do that with my clients all the time, and it's something that you will do as well. My mother is watching right now. Hey, Momji, and Ayusa Korn, Dr. Shakti, Dr. Ayusa Korn, Dr. O. That's it. Been a while, so I forgot. So before I share this WhatsApp game, what's if game with you, I want to make one thing clear. It is not a way to permanently boost your confidence or your motivation or, create any desirable mind state. It works brilliantly for giving you a very quick and big boost in your mental state, but it's not meant as a long-term solution. I just want you to be able to have this so that you'll be able to use it at any one time if you are in a situation where you cannot meet with a therapist and start to change the way you are and so on and so forth. So if you want to feel, for example, more confident in the long term, you're much better off building your confidence in several different other ways. But it's slower and it has a lasting effect. The what if game, on the other hand, is a brilliant device technique whenever you need a very quick and immediate boost. Okay, just pay attention to that. Now, the what if game is very simple. Whenever you want very quick boost in a desirable mental state, just ask yourself the following questions. I will use confidence as an example, but you can substitute motivation or peace or any other desirable state that you want. When in the past have you felt supremely and absolutely confident? How did you hold your body? How did you move? Change your current body state to be more like that, the way you were when you felt supremely confident. Move your body so that you are. And if you cannot remember when you were that confident, remember a TV show where you saw the character, the main character, the protagonist, looking more confident. Could be like James Bond or something like that. Now, hold that in your mind, and then let it go for a second. Now, think of any idol of confidence, like the TV show. Example, like I said, James Bond just now. Now, imagine that this person, if it's not you, if it's a separate person, imagine stepping into their body, like you're just behind James Bond, or is there a female equivalent? Xena, the warrior, and a few others, and maybe Khaleesi, the Game of Thrones woman. What's her name? I can't remember the actress's name. What's it? Emilia Clarke, I think. But anyway, regardless, imagine yourself standing right behind them and then step into their body. Just imagine this, and looking at the world now through their eyes. How would you then behave? How would you gesture? What expression would you hold in your face? What thoughts would be going through your head? That's important. Now, what if you were feeling supremely unstoppable and confident right now? How would you hold your body? How would you speak to others? What would your thoughts be at that point? Now, as you answer all these questions that I'm asking you, take the time to imagine them and let your body language change accordingly. Move the way you would move if you were unstoppably confident like these guys, or like you were at one point. And then gesture the way you would, or breathe the way you would. With practice, when you play this game, it will take you maybe less than a minute. After a while, it will be very sudden. You'll be able to do it in 45 seconds. And it will give you that powerful surge of confidence whenever other desirable, less resourceful, less empowering mind states come in, and you're no longer focusing on them. But use it wisely, because with the power that comes with you comes great responsibility as well. So that's a form of emotional modeling, and that's a very quick way to change your mind states. There are several ways in which we can do other things as well, and things that you can do to absolutely change not just your mind state, but to your moods and confidence levels and the way you live your life. Our states of mind are really, really linked to what it is that you're thinking about at any one time. So whenever I say the mind is everything, yes, people say that. It's okay to say that, but how? Well, let me teach you 16 things, maybe more, that you can do right now to improve your state of mind. Because every day, people, we face battles. And some of these battles are huge and big, and some are small. Some of them have to do with external things like finances and traffic. Some things even have to do with internal struggles like anxiety about something, or stress or depression about something. Now, these internal battles can be very stressful and scary, and sometimes it can leave us drained and feeling very flat or sleepy, as I have been in the last little while. So what can you do to protect yourself and get a bit of breathing room when these internal battles are looming? I'm going to talk about what you can do, because life may not be what you expected, but it's time to start living it. Even if the things you wanted haven't shown up, the things you needed are still there. The things you have to deal with are still there. And most people grow up with expectations of what their life will be, and if they don't, get what they want or receive it, then society comes in and chimes in with its own ideas about the milestones we should be hitting by certain age. Oh, by this age you should have a house. By this age you should have a wife or a husband. You should have children. Da 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 da, and all these other things that people telling you that add to your anxiety levels. But here's the secret: life rarely goes according to your plan. There's a Jewish proverb that says, "Man plans and God laughs." So if we start to pay attention to all of this, these milestones that other people are so eager to hit are either very clever marketing ploys to make you buy things for them. At this point, you should know everything about internet marketing because of COVID and jobs will not be the same. So you start attending all these different people's courses who attended other people's courses, it's time to build internal skills, but they're other people's opinions that tell you what you should and would do if you were da 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 da. But where are all these would and should and must coming from? Where's the position of authority? Sometimes you find that these people are out just to make money, and it doesn't make any sense, some of them. And also, most of them are people's opinions about how you should live your life. So in truth, you only get one life. So living it by other people's rules, they will never make you happy. If you aren't living the life you imagined and you're spending countless hours being down on yourself because of it, well, it's time to give yourself a break, people. Forget all the missed opportunities and all the I should have done this, or regretting your life and choices. It will not change the past. It's just a waste of your time and energy, and it only makes you feel bad when you focus on all of the things that have passed. There's nothing you can do. So I want you to stop beating yourself up over a past that you cannot change, and that will keep you frozen, literally where you are. And you need to finally let that go. I created these lessons for you about 3 weeks ago. Please go back and all these broadcasts and take a look at some of those things as well, because they will help you. So when you do let go, finally, using those techniques I taught you, you will start to move again. You will start to really live the life that you have. So what if we haven't come to the point where we had planned to be, and so on and so forth? It doesn't matter. We are here now. We tried our best. It didn't work out. We failed. I failed so many times. I failed in my businesses. I failed in everything. Just a few days ago, I was so tight about so many things that were happening. And one person in particular claims to be a relative. Asshole would be a better word to call this guy. But anyway, you have no idea what kind of stresses this guy put on me. And I didn't say a word to anybody. I just kept it all inside. And so many things were kept inside. And my brother, who I owe my entire life to Chicago, who lives in Chicago, and he'll be gone next week, and it'll be so sad to miss him, did something for me that was totally unexpected. And all of that pain, all of that stress, everything I've held together just fell apart. And I totally lost it. For a moment, I no longer held myself together. I was like putty. And he was witness to that. He used a different word, starting with P. He said, don't be a... Anyway, rhymes with cat. Long story short, we feel ourselves tighten up because we haven't done what we should have done, could have done, would have done, if it weren't for the fact that other people's opinions tend to matter so much about what we needed to do and not do. Somewhere along the way, I got an opportunity between yesterday and today to breathe. And I did breathe. And I can tell you, it's a lot easier to breathe and to take a break. So once I've given, and you should too, once you've given yourself a break, then you need to drop all the other outside expectations about what your life should be, society, friends, family, magazines, television, whatever, competitors, both the good, nice competitors as well as the very bad competitors. Then work out what really, truly makes you happy. And once you know that, well, make that your goal, which is exactly what I'm doing. The way that I'm doing it and the way you can do it is to set yourself a challenge. A really easy way to boost your self-confidence and mood is to set yourself on a challenge and then achieve that challenge. It doesn't have to be a huge challenge. It can be small ones, because your successes are based on incremental successes in life, and that's what has to be done as well. Sorry, there's a little moth. I don't know where it came from. I was just making sure it wasn't a mosquito, because there's all kinds of dengue fever and all of that here as well. Now, this doesn't have to be a huge challenge. It's like climbing Mount Everest. It could be a small one. Challenge like, I will walk the dog for 30 minutes every day for the next 7 days, or I will exercise for 2 hours a day, whatever the goal might be. Setting small goals and achieving them, then recognizing that you have achieved them, will always work wonders for your self-esteem. It will prove to you that you really can do it. And if you can do that, well, how many other amazing things can you achieve? You need to monitor your moods, because one of the best ways to keep on top of your mental state and mental health is to regularly check in with how you are feeling. So often we are in a deep well of despair that before we even realize that we've been struggling, we find ourselves sinking like we're in quicksand, pulling us deeper and deeper. And the more we struggle, the deeper we seem to go into our problems and into the situation in which we're trying to get away from. So it's much easier to deal with a small problem than a big one. So take each step, a very careful step. Take time each day to check in with yourself and how you feel about achieving this small goal and that small goal. Remember the question I asked you in the beginning of this series in program 2 or 3, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's how you do it. So if you realize that you are stressed or upset or scared or sad, you can work out ways to get some help. And these could include having a coffee with a brother who you love, who is kind and kind beyond belief. And I have no words to describe this living angel who is on this earth. Chat to a friend if you don't have brothers like this. Going for a 30-minute brisk walk, maybe even writing in a journal or a book like I always do, or maybe book an appointment with a therapist. Dealing with the minor mood change is much easier and better for you in the long run than remaining out of touch with yourself and then ending up in a much worse state where you have to be committed to that therapist for a long time. Also, if you would, stop pleasing everyone else and just please yourself. See, we all want to be liked. It's human nature to be liked. It's only really becomes a problem when you start to put everyone else's needs before your own. That's when it becomes a problem. You don't have the stuff that you want to do or get done because you're doing other people's things. See, when you sacrifice bits of your time and bits of yourself to keep everyone else happy, when you only feel valued if you're only getting outside validation instead of knowing that you are worthy, don't check with other people. Say, I'm worthy. Don't you think so? Don't you agree? How many people here agree? That's validation from the outside. It doesn't work. Does that sound a bit like you? That you're working on your self love and your worthiness, but you have to check with others whether you are worthy or not. Well, it's time to stop. See, people pleasing can have negative effects, not just on your mental health, but your physical health as well, as your stress, your worry, you work yourself into exhaustion to help others, and so on and so forth. Remember that one person that stressed me throughout the whole year, last year and this year as well, almost a year plus. I basically told him to go F himself, basically that. And I said, and I got rid of him. Enough is enough. And I had some help, and that help from my brother was all I needed. And it just changed everything. My perspective changed the direction of what I'm doing. I'm getting a lot more done, a lot more finished, and I'm no longer eating away at my stomach lining. So the way in which you can stop letting other people decide your emotional state is this. I want you to take a piece of paper out and write a list of boundaries for yourself. These could include, getting enough sleep for yourself, avoiding negative people, spending time alone. Because once you have your list of what's important for you, say no to everything that will get in the way of these boundaries. If you are losing sleep over helping somebody, and so on and so forth, please don't do that, because when you are not able to take care of yourself, you're not able to take care of anybody or achieve your goals. I have a friend just a few days ago who was making a lot of mistakes at work, and the amazing thing is she never gave herself any time to rest, and so as a result of doing that, she got worse in her paperwork, worse in her accounting, and everything else that had to happen. And she even switched names with some of the vendors and people that he had to be paid. And so I told her a story that I'm going to tell you right now. There was a man who decided to become a woodsman, a lumberjack in Canada. And he went in to the manager's office of the largest lumber yard he could find in Canada, and he said, "Hey, I'm strong, I'm well built, and I think I can cut down more trees than your best lumberjack that you have." Said, "Great, fantastic, and I'd like a job with you." And the man said, "Sure." And then he asked him, the manager asked him, "How many?" He asked the manager, "How many trees does your best person cut?" "Oh, we can cut 20 in a day." "Wow, I can do that." So he went off and he started cutting the trees, and he got 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, slowly over a period of time. And by the end of the day, he had only done 15 trees. Wow, that was not good. He's nowhere near the 20 that people had. So he said to him, "Okay, I don't understand it. All right, let me do it today, but now I'm not going to take my break, nor am I going to have lunch, and I'm just going to work all the way through." So he started cutting trees and went on cutting. At the end of the day, he found that that he cut only 14 trees, one less than the 15 that he did the day before. So he was so unhappy with himself that the very next day he decided, okay, no breaks, no lunches, no dinners. I'm going to work all the way through till 10 o'clock at night when the last light is in the sky. This is summer, so it gets dark around 10 o'clock. So he started felling the trees, and he was really hard at it and going everywhere. And next thing you know, he's exhausted as hell. Come 10 o'clock, he's only cut 13 trees. He's getting steadily worse. So he went to the manager's office, threw the axe on the table, and he said, I don't think I'm cut out to be a woodsman. I can't cut as many trees. In fact, I'm getting worse and worse by the day. So the manager takes a look at the axe, and he feels the edge, and he said, "When was the last time you sharpened the sword?" And the light suddenly came on in his head, because you see, the best woodsmen in the world cut down 3 or 4 trees, and then they sharpen the axe again And then they continue cutting down 3 or 4 trees, and then they sharpen the axe again. So sharpening the axe is metaphorical for how many times you give your body a chance to sleep, a chance to relax, a chance to just bring everything down to the way you would if you were not striving so hard for that goal. Just allow yourself to vegetate just for a little bit and then go back to work. And that's sharpening the sword. Remember that it's okay for people not to like you and for you not to like people. It doesn't make you less of a good person for not being able to get or even gel with somebody else. Now, know that that you are a worthwhile person anyway, and regardless of what other people think, you know who you are. Even if they call you a asswipe, but it doesn't matter. You know you're not. You know who you are. Learn to say no. It's okay to say no. People do it every day. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't have to feel uncomfortable about saying no. You can cage it in a way that makes you feel comfortable, if you like, but you don't have to tell white lies. You can just simply say something like, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I planned something with just myself, some me time, because I've been very stressed and I just want to be by myself. So it's okay to feel guilty that maybe the first couple of times you say no, and recognize that guilt that you experience from that, and then just let it go. You could do this by writing a list of pros and cons for your decision. It's likely there'll be a lot of more pros for saying no than cons. Now, what's the end story to that person? Well, I had helped this idiot out of depression and suicidal thoughts and all of that and everything else. I've gone way overboard. So I have a lot of my friends, and something else happened. And so it was like terrible at the same time. So anyway, be your own best friend. That's the only thing you can do. It's highly unlikely that you would never treat your best friend with the level of negativity that you aim at yourself. So it's time, forget about loving yourself. Be your best friend. How do you do this? Simply, whenever you get down on yourself, think, would I say this to my best friend? Then stop and give yourself 2 compliments. Would you put your best friend down? It's also important, in your new BFF relationship with yourself, to have the ability to honor your own needs. You need to have a break. You need a massage, maybe a night in with a book and a cup of coffee or tea. Take time to check in with yourself. Go watch a movie. Realize what it is that you need. Then give yourself permission to fulfill that need, And lastly, you will need a healthy dose of compassion for yourself. If your friend had a problem, you will bring them, you don't go out and bring them down further. You would be compassionate and you would work out a way to help them. So being your own best friend means that you need to turn that compassion inwards and be kind to yourself, Develop a hobby, not to improve your life, not to improve your work, not to add a stream of income, a hobby just for yourself. What is it that you love doing, but have always put aside as frivolous or something for a later date? Or, it could be anything. It could be my Ashok talking about knitting, or it could be drawing. It could be playing a game, cricket, soccer, football, whatever the case might be. Whatever it is, make now the time that you do it. See, your hobby should be just for yourself, and just because you love doing it. So giving yourself a few hours a week to work on your hobby, there are 168 hours in a week, and surely you can squeeze out 1 or 2 hours just for yourself. If you want to know what my hobby is building interstellar spacecraft. That's what I do. People think, oh, it's work, but it's not work. It's fun for me to build these devices, and it's always a lot of fun as well. Treat yourself, little indulgences. Budget a small amount each week to buy yourself a little treat. It could be an ice cream cone. Could be in Singapore. what I love is this bowl of wonton noodles. It's just amazing, and I try to find the best in the world. And everybody has a different taste, so they point me in this direction. I try it, failed. Try the other one, failed. Try the other one, failed. And so far, the best one for me has been in this little township called Ang Mo Kio, which is not too far from where I am. And I have to drive there, and it's in the middle of a market. But the problem is it's closed. You can only do takeout right now. It's part of the COVID thing. You could do anything. It could be a good chocolate bar you want to give yourself, or maybe a good book you want to read, moisturizing your face, your body, or wear a foot mask or a hand. Do you know there's such a thing as foot mask? I didn't know that. And a face mask as well. Somebody gave me a foot mask and I haven't used it yet. I'm not sure how to apply it and how to get it done. So it doesn't have to cost the earth and the moon. It just has to be a little bit of special thing that you do for yourself. Now, the final thing I want you to do is to start what is called a memory jar. You have a whole store of amazing memories. You've lived a full, happy life, but sometimes they get dampened by this darker thoughts, the current situation. So it's time to switch the tables a little bit, you know? Every day for the next 30 days, I want you to do something. I want you to write down one good memory, and I want you to stick it in a jar. At the end of 30 days, I want you to tip them all out and read them. You see, the memory can be monumental, or they can be small, like the smell of muffins from your favorite store. In Varna, there is this, I'm giving out my secrets. In Varna, as I sit and have coffee in this wonderful place called Costa on Chernomoré, I always have that with a chocolate croissant. And it's from around the corner where the bookstore is and the Happy's. If you happen to be in Varna, go around the corner to just past Happy's, and you'll see the bookstore. It's about a block from the bookstore. This is wonderful French bakery, Frenchish bakery, but Bulgarians run it. And they have these most addictive, amazing chocolate croissant that is amazing. And you have that with your coffee. It's amazing. I write about that all the time, and I write about the taste and the smells of different places, spending time with the energy of some people. Those are powerful memories as well. You will really be surprised at how powerful it is to focus on positive memories, even if it is of people and situations, of acts you've done, things you've eaten, and whatever else you've eaten. And also those positive memories, looking at them for a few minutes a day. If you love this exercise, you will continue this memory jar for months and maybe your whole life. So remember, the most important thing after you do that is to cut out all toxic people from your life. You wouldn't sit in a room full of toxic air, would you? Then why surround yourself with toxic people? That's what I have done since a couple of days ago. I just got rid of them one by one by one. You know the people. They manipulate you. They're passively aggressive towards you, put you down, gossip behind your back, and make you feel bad or guilty. They don't really support you. It's all words, you know. But really they do absolute fuck all for your life. Anyway, really think about why you have them around and what you're getting out of it, because likely you will find the answer is very little. So it's time to get rid of them. Now, admittedly, this is easier said than done, but a few tips for kindly cutting them out of your life include setting boundaries, like I talked about before. You know, when you set boundaries, you know, let these people know what your boundaries are. If they cross these, well, politely but firmly, let them know that they've crossed the line. And if they still continue, then cut them off, block them off. Do that, because you don't deserve anything they say to you. If they say, well, I can't control my feelings, I can't control mine either. Blocked. It's simple. Go cold turkey. Cut off all communication sometimes. This COVID situation has allowed the whole of humanity, not just those listening to me, but the whole of humanity to block phone numbers, to drop people from Facebook, to cut them off who don't respond to these people's emails, don't respond to the messages and so on, and they'll get the message eventually. You see, the difficulty comes with a lot of people when you realize, I mean, look, I have 5,000, almost 5,000 friends, quote unquote. Have any of them liked anything I've done? No, none. Most of them are what we call frenemies. What are frenemies? Frenemies are people who are competitors or such like, who take your ideas and run with them and do whatever they do. And they're just watching you and keeping tabs on you, making sure that you haven't achieved, da 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 da. It's sad to think like that, but this is the reality. I want and I feel I want to be surrounded by people who want nothing but the best for me. And I want also to be in a mutually beneficial relationship with them, because as I help them to enhance their growth and everything else, they are also helping me in the process. So we are both together achieving our goals, but jointly as friends, without stabbing anybody in the back. And that's why you don't see me at these very large rallies with certain people, because they're really not all they tell you they are. It's a little bit difficult. One day I'll put it all in a wonderful book, and you'll see what the motivational world is really like, and the truth will be there. But in spite of all of that, you have to remain positive. You have to spend that time you have with this person that is yourself, your best friend. Hang out and chat with your best friend, and with positive people in your life. The ones that support you, encourage you, care about you, the ones who are kind to you. Small acts of kindness or large acts of kindness just blow you away. And I am very, very blessed to have parents that I have, and a brother that I have like that. I cannot even begin to tell you how blessed I am. I treat emotional pain like physical pain. If you hurt your back, you probably go to a doctor, take some time off and care for it. It'll be the same for your mental health as well. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And often your physical health and mental health are intertwined in a very intimate way. So when you start to feel yourself in mental distress, it's time to take yourself home to go see a doctor and take care of yourself. And so at that point, I have to turn to myself and say, physician, heal thyself, and take care of myself for a change. So taking a small amount of time out for self-care will really help you in the long run. Often you don't deal with the issues when it first surfaces, rather than, when it starts to fester and get worse. It can get on top of you and all your activities and your entire life, and you wouldn't know. So you wouldn't stand in the rain on a cold winter's day, for instance, in Varna, because you'll likely get pneumonia. So the same goes for mental distress. If you feel the twinges of distress, don't make it worse by ignoring it and continue to battle through the stress alone and start to feel suicidal and so on and so forth. Instead, to start taking care of yourself. And the way to do that is to stop comparing yourself to other people. You are not your boss or your friend or your coworker. You are you're not even a Kardashian. I don't even know the worth of these people, or anyone like Miranda Kerr or any of these people. You're uniquely you. It's you that is the constellation of amazing qualities and gifts that nobody else is. Now, there's an old saying which holds true to today: comparison is the death of joy. And you start comparing yourself to others, even the others that you think are coming in the future, or that you would have met in the past. When you start comparing with them, you start to feel the pain, because you will start to become bitter or overly jealous of other people. Now, firstly, when we start to compare ourselves with others, we are looking at all our faults and all of their wins. And that's not a fair comparison. Instead, that's where the jar of positive intentions and positive things and positive memories come in, because that would be a fair comparison. You have done so much, but you don't look at that. You see all your failures instead and compare it to their successes. Now, there are millions of people in the world who are talented and beautiful and rich, but you could spend your whole life comparing yourself to other people like this and start feeling bad. You could live your life according to your own rules instead and your own values instead. No need to compare with the people who say, well, we should transform, we should grow, we should. Why should you? You are perfectly okay where you are. If you want to transform, you want to grow, you want to have exponential 10x growth, sure, that's fantastic. If you're talking about bra sizes, I don't think it's going to work that fast, but it'll take time. Everything takes time. There are no two people that are the same. Even genetically identical twins are different from each other. See, you are a total individual. You know, what you have from your fingerprints, your personality, your laugh, your imagination, you're a complete individual. There is no comparison. You can't compare an apple to a puppy. They are totally different things. So take stock of who you are and what your gifts are and what value you have in this life and what you find funny and how you measure success. You know, celebrate who you are and start living your life and striving for what you believe in, what your values are. And once you let go of all these comparisons, well, you will find yourself in a happiness state and your happiness level soaring higher than you've ever intended it to be or even wanted it to be. Now, according to Viktor Frankl, who the famous psychiatrist, he was a Holocaust survivor, humans can survive almost anything if they can find meaning in their circumstances. Now, what he means by this, because he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, and in that book he says the meaning of his thought is simply this, that if you can find a reason or a meaning in your circumstances, then it makes bearing the circumstances much easier. So those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how in their life. Having a purpose in life, finding meaning can be a guiding light out of very, very dark places. What I do sometimes, like in a day, I block out 1 hour of time. Most times it's less, 30 minutes. I put it out as worry time. You know, if you find sometimes your days are interrupted by little pockets of worry, it may be better for you to actually spend a set amount of time in the long run of specific worry time. It's your time to worry. You may want to schedule this 30 minutes a day directly after lunch, you know, whether it be just before lunch or just after lunch in the afternoon, but never in the evening, never first thing in the morning. So every time you find yourself starting to worry outside of this time, write it down on a worry list and then forget about it. This will be what you will worry about in those specific times. So you get your worry time because you want to, because something feels naked inside of you unless you worry. So pull out your list and then go over each worry and how you can solve it. If you want to, even begin a journal. And sometimes we know before the advent of Facebook in 2005 or 2006 when Facebook came out, we psychologists would tell our patients to keep a journal. Write down every day your first thought as you woke up in the morning, what you had for breakfast. Please write it all down. What your thoughts were as you had breakfast, what your emotional impact was in meeting with different people, what states of mind you were experiencing, whether or not you were having issues with your emotions or your physical state, mental state, psychic states, and so on and so forth. Now, Facebook has taken over all of that. We no longer describe our breakfast. We take pictures of it, and our lunch, and our dinner, and our whatever. And we take pictures of other parts of our bodies, and so on and so forth. And most times it's selfies and what have you. I don't remember a time that a psychologist would ever tell somebody to take a picture of yourself, take it to the Kodak shop, develop it, and then wait a few weeks when it comes out, and then send it to me. Nobody does that, but now we have an ability to do that. So when you start to do this, when you keep a journal or even take a look at everything you've written on Facebook, it's great in clarifying who you are as you think and you feel through stuff. It actually reduces your stress levels by expressing yourself, creating an outlet. Who knows, if you keep a diary, it might even become an interesting source of income for you. The writer of the book and the hugely successful television series. There was only 4 parts in the television series. It's called A Year in Provence. Peter Mayle was a writer. He was a journalist for a newspaper, and he had retired from England and moved with his wife, who was a tax auditor, and they moved to France and bought a small house in a vineyard in the Luberon Mountains, and in the south of France. And he was supposed to write a book. He was given a huge advance against royalties by his publisher to write a particular book, a novel. And so he used the money from that to purchase the house, and the house was in shambles. And he started to put a journal together, but every time he sat down to write, nothing came out. So he started writing the journal about what took place, and the carpenters he's had to deal with, the neighbors and all the problems he's had to deal with, dealing with French culture and French food and so on and so forth, and everything they had to do with being in Provence for a year. At the end of the year, the publisher came to meet him and says, Peter, where's my book? Peter says, you know what? I haven't really finished that book at all. I'm so sorry, but I kept a diary. Would you like to read it? So the publisher was, of course, understandably upset. So basically, he went back to London, read the manuscript, and the title of the manuscript was simply A Year in Provence. It's a diary of everything that happened in 1 year that he was there. He thought it was so good that he published it, and it became a phenomenal international bestseller. Not the novel, but the diary. So if you have a life that's full of drama, whether the drama is in your office or in your home or in your family or outside of your family, write these dramas down. You cannot understand how fun this is to release all the stress, the negative stress from all of this by writing it down. Writing it down also helps you see things in a different way, giving you more empathy sometimes, or understanding, and sometimes even solutions. It helps you to get to know yourself. And then, speaking of social media, give yourself a diet when it comes to social media, because it can be a real distraction. I know my father and my mother sometimes, but my father has no control over this, that I will see him sometimes at 2:30 in the morning still looking through his Facebook and his WhatsApp and going through the little movies, and he has to see the next one and the next 2-minute movie and the next 3-minute movie. Why? Because it's interesting. All of them are designed to be very interesting. You need to step away from your social media accounts, maybe even for 3 days. Are you able to? Don't check your Facebook. Don't check your Twitter, your Instagram, your Pinterest, your Snapchat, even for a full 3 days. Unless it's linked to your business somehow, then you have no choice. Pay somebody to look after all of that. Use that time to pamper yourself, your body, your mind. Read a book, do some yoga, get up early, have a bath, whatever relaxes you, spend time with a friend, masturbate, whatever it is you do, you decide. Focus on one thing in the moment, and you'll find that you will calm your mind. Your stress levels are rising, and sometimes this black dog called depression starts to lurk, and anxiety starts to lurk. And when you do one thing at a time, those things start to disappear, because they don't come out in a dissociated form, and therefore seem bigger. If you're going to eat. If you're going to focus on only that one act of eating, then all of your 5 senses are in the food: smell, taste, texture, even the sound of your food as it crackles and pops in your mouth, whatever the case. Chewing, smelling, tasting, swallowing. If you're going to walk. Put all of your focus on the walking. If you see what the grass feels like under your feet. Don't try to multitask with your phone and everything else. Just focus on how your body is. It's called mindfulness. And when you do this, well, a whole new world opens up, because depression, anxiety, and stress can hit you at any time, and it can pull us under. But having strategies to deal with these feelings when they come rolling in can actually help you keep your head above the waves. So next time you feel all of these things pulling at you, try one or two approaches that I've talked about in the last hour already, and you'll be surprised. You know, make sure that you also speak to those people who are nearest and closest to you, to let them know what's going on in your life. I didn't do that for the longest time. I should have said something, but and importantly, if you feel it's getting too much, find a doctor and get the advice of a therapist or counselor. You don't have to struggle alone. You don't have to be alone. And yeah. Wow. 1 hour. I didn't take any questions, nor did I greet anybody. Who else is here? Vin, welcome to the Abida, welcome to the studio. Malinka, welcome to the studio. And Josephine, moth. It could be a moth. I didn't know what it was. Oh, that was earlier. My father is listening. Hey, Babaji. And Noraini. Dobrin has a question. I have some frenemies like that, which after I decide to do that, they start to talk about me. Oh, he moved to UK. Stop talking with me. He forgot where he was before. That's good. That's good. People say that about me when I'm in Bulgaria as well. When you compare to people, is it not way that you motivate yourself to reach your goal? Well, Dobrin, it's an interesting question, because the thing was brought up before that success and improvements and progress is done by people who are dissatisfied with their status quo, with the norm, and so they want to improve. But then again, if you take a look at it from a holistic perspective, see the whole large, big picture, and what you lose as you progress, you wonder if that is worth it or not, is the toll that it takes on you and the stress levels. So you don't know, you see. So when you compare to people, yes, if you want to, you can motivate yourself. But if you feel dissatisfied to a point where it affects your sense of worth and you feel less because you don't have what those people have, then it's time to, that's not a very healthy comparison at that point. If you want what they have, then you will always suffer from this wonderful feelings of jealousy and envy. I guess if you want to be like someone, that means you have the same type of energy like him or her. And when you follow his footsteps or her footsteps, if he is successful in what he do, that is a good way to motivation for you to reach your goal and be successful like this person. Don't know if I'm correct. I don't either. I'm just kidding. The process you're talking about is called modeling. If you model yourself after a particular person because it helps you to achieve a particular goal, then yes, it's useful to get to your goal. If you have a car and need to go from where you are now to someplace 60 kilometers away, it doesn't help you to put water in the car. It helps you to put petrol, gas in the car, and that will take you to point A to point B. So again, use whatever fuel, metaphorically speaking, fuel is necessary for you to reach that goal. And that fuel will take you there. But learn also not to have your whole life dependent on that fuel. Change different ways of doing things. Sometimes it helps you to walk to your goals and not rush to them. Because achieving the goal is not the idea. The journey to the goal, that's the idea. How do you feel as you are heading towards wealth? How do you feel when you're heading towards love? How are you feeling? How are you thinking? How are you acting? How are you talking? How are you growing as you head towards health? How are you doing? You know what I mean. It's the journey that's the most important thing, because the destination is the same. The destination is death. And that's all that waits for us. If you succeed and find your soulmate, what's your reward? You get to die. If you become a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, a billionaire, and you make all of this money, what's your reward? You get to die. If you become famous and write all these books like Joycelyn wants to write, it's a dream. Famous and writing a book and sharing ideas. What's your reward? You get to die. So you see what I mean? When you become healthy and you become thinner and stronger, and your muscles can lift more of other people's muscles or whatever it is you lift, what's your reward? You get to die. Death. So the journey along the way to whatever it is you feel is important, that is the point. So if you want a family, some people say to me, all I want is a family, children, a house, 1.5 dogs or whatever. And they have this picture in their head and they want to achieve this. Great, fantastic. Pay attention to the path towards that. Pay attention to that, because that is what will, where's that sound coming from? Like the radio is on. So that's what's important. It's the journey itself that will make it. So another question, Mona. Hi, Mona. This is Mona from Ottawa. What time is it in Ottawa right now? It's about 10:30 in the morning, I think, right? Welcome from Canada. I'm actually working with a fellow from Montreal. We run some shows together, and so we're going to be working together in the next couple of weeks or so when he gets organized, and we're going to be running these programs on issues and specific things related to spirit and mind and so on and so forth. Me from a psychology perspective, because I'm a psychologist, and he more from a spiritual perspective because he wanted to walk a spiritual path. And I told him the two are pretty much the same. You can be a spiritual person living an ordinary, quote unquote, ordinary life. You don't have to be put into a monastery or a nunnery, not nunnery, what do you call it? Convent. You don't have to seclude yourself. Become a practical monk or practical nun, be part of the world. You don't even have to be nun-like. Will make a lot of monks happy too. Just kidding, but you know what I mean. So Dobrin says, if you want to be successful, do what 99% of people don't. In that means I would like to add, put water in your car, not fuel. Joycelyn, be inspired from others who achieve goals in life and mirror. That's from my father. Learn their mistakes as well. Exactly. Some people will show you an example how to do it. But not all of us can be Elon Musk. Not all of us can be, name some other billionaires and stuff. This guy's in space, so we get to see him. He's always next to the moon. So we can compare him to a lunatic, I guess, at some point. But you know what? This lunatic is making things happen. Who are the other hoo-has in the world that everybody looks up to? Warren Buffett. Wow. Multi-billionaire. What does he do? Live in the same house, drive the same car, has the same wife for many, many, many years, eat the same food, nothing much different, but he has more choices, and he enjoys making money. He enjoys making choices. That's the enjoyment of it all. It's a strategy thing. It's very interesting. Who are the other big hoo-has? Robbins? Well, many years ago, he wrote a whole series about relationships and this and that, and then the fellow went and got divorced. And so then we have a second wife, and things, of course, work better, and so on and so forth. And yeah, maybe I refrain from giving advice in that area, except to say, be yourself. And if the other person doesn't like you or who you are, then eventually you're going to drift away anyway, regardless. It makes no difference in the world. But be happy, work towards happiness. And your happiness shouldn't come from other people. It should come just from yourself. By the way, if you want to be part of this show, this is something we do. Copy to clipboard. Send this here. If you would like to express your views. If you would like to ask a question and be on this show as well, an error occurred. Was this broadcast deleted on Facebook? What? What does that mean? Did we just get our broadcast deleted? That's not possible. Am I still live? Isn't that the funniest thing in the world? An error occurred. Was this broadcast deleted on Facebook? What the heck does that mean? So if I'm still on, please let me know that I am still on. It's live. Yes, I am. What the heck is that message there then? That's really odd, beyond belief. Okay, maybe I'll try that again. Oh, now it made it. Well, again. This broadcast was deleted on Facebook. Maybe she means after the broadcast, it get deleted. No, this broadcast is now live on Facebook. It wouldn't be deleted because it's endless. I don't understand that. I'll deal with that when we figure it out. So if anybody has any questions, are you able to even see the broadcast thing? Let me try that one more time. Let's do this invite. Let me do it physically. Take that. Let me then copy it. And let me take it off from here. And let me try it one more time. And see if this works. It shows it's okay, and then it cancels it. How interesting is that? So, if you are and I hear other things too. It's very odd. I hear people crying. Am I just imagining things? Anyway, just want to let you know that if you have any questions, now is a good time to ask me questions. Looks like I'm not able to post the connection to the StreamYard, but those of you who are in StreamYard can see the connections from the Dr. Mel Gill thing for Facebook, and I think it is in Facebook. Yeah, it is in Facebook as well. That's very odd. And I'll find out what the technical glitch is in there. And then we'll talk about what we can do. So if you have any questions for me, please ask. We have run an hour into this program already so far, past. And usually I have somebody on board. Usually it's Ashok from New York who would like to make a statement about this, that, the other thing. And he's on some trek somewhere. I forgot. He did mention it, but I forgot what it was. And Keegan is usually on as well. And there are some other people that usually give their points of view as well. So if you would like to ask a question, now is a good time to type your question in or ask it directly, and I will answer your question. Otherwise, we are pretty much at the end of our broadcast. And I think I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about with you as well. How can we contribute? Mona, what do you mean by contribute? To your own thinking? Or, you see, when we talk about states of mind, there are several things that we talk about. But they're all classified into two general categories. One is helpful and one is harmful. One is useful and one is not useful. So you want to pay attention to that. And there are four states of mind in psychology, usually the way in which we map out thinking processes and such like. There is thinking, the actual thinking. And again, nobody has taught you how to think. So I've just finished writing a book about thinking, how to think. It's actually about 280 pages on how to learn to think in a precise way. The other is to be engaged in one activity or another, mental, emotional, physical activity. And there's another way in which you have the habits of the mind critical, where you start to become critical about someone or something, about an issue or circumstance, and so on and so forth. And then the other is, and usually the critical mind is the one that's usually aware, consciously aware of what's happening. Then there's autopilot, which is unconsciously aware of what's happening and not paying attention. So it goes on automatic. Okay, well, will you go feed the dog? Okay. And then you like a zombie, you go out and do those things. Will you clean the floor? Okay. What did you say? Well, okay, clean the floor. Yes, right. With what? A mop. Hello. So they're not paying attention. So again, you have thinking engaged, thinking as in literally thinking, paying attention to a thought process. If this, then this. If not, then this. If not, then this, and so on and so forth. Then you have the engaged process. Then you have the critical paying attention process, and also the unconscious autopilot process. So there's several ways. Maybe it will take me actually a while to describe all of this about the psychology of thinking, and I wanted to explain that. Yeah, I kind of figured that that's where you might be coming from, Mona. So I kind of anticipated your question. So, but I'll save that because it takes about an hour plus to kind of describe the thinking process of most people. The habits of the mind. When it's in autopilot, there's a thing called the familiarity trap, something called the single view or the singularity view, and another thing called the pressured directive. And so when you start to actively analyze your thinking and you start to pay attention to your thinking, then you start to recognize how to turn them on and off at will. It'll take practice, like anything else. It will take practice, and then when you want to turn off the autopilot process, you can, and you'd be surprised how easy it is to turn off the autopilot process. In other words, to not be bored, and you can help other people to be shaken out of the autopilot thinking process as well. Sometimes it's useful to turn it on, the autopilot, like when you're listening to a boring discussion by someone, and they call it a discussion, but it's actually a monologue, and they're going, and by the way, and that they do, and therefore male and females are two different things, and therefore I'm talking about male energy and female energy, and I'm talking about the blah, blah, blah. And you just go, oh my God, and your brain is on autopilot, and your brain is going, tomorrow I'm gonna make butterscotch cookies. Man, that would be so good. Yes. Oh, female energy. Yes, of course. Yes. With crumbles and white chocolate bits. And actually, it sounds too good. I'm getting hungry right now. But you have the idea, Mona. The book is on Amazon. There are two books that have become international bestsellers. One is called Uncommon Sense, title of the book, which is also the title of this program. And the other is called The Meta Secret. And soon you will see The Meta Secret being powerfully pushed into Canada and to the US and everywhere else as well. I've written about 157 books, most of them on psychology. And you will find some of them on Amazon, because I haven't been able to proofread them and put them out. So I have about 50 odd books on Amazon right now. So just type in my name, Dr. Mel Gill, and you'll be able to see what those books are. And so you can get some of them there. But if you wait for 2 months, I will make them all available for maybe $0.99, something like that. Affordable by everyone. That's my whole idea, is to be able to do that. And to come to a level where I think everybody will have access to everything I'm doing for next to nothing, as much as I can. If I start to charge anything for money or anything for a course, $100, $200, something like that, I'll try not to keep it beyond that. And it's all to raise money for the foundation. What does the foundation do? The foundation is only one quest, and that's to push humanity forward. And by increasing levels of technology, I went to Singapore's richest man, or I'm told he's richest, I doubt now, and I asked him to help me in the foundation, and he said, I don't think your foundation is going to be very effective because it says pushing humanity forward. The only thing that will push humanity forward, he said, is when Jesus Christ returns and humanity will be pushed forward. I said something that pissed him off, I think. I said, well, while waiting for him to come back, let me do some pushing of my own, and you'll be okay, you know? Would that be good? So let me do my part, and when he does come back, then I'll step out of the way and let him continue pushing humanity forward. In the meanwhile, nobody I know is doing that, or very few people are doing that. Everybody's launching a business here, a business there, that's based on people's needs, wants, fears, hopes, and broken dreams. And I want to be able to fix broken dreams. Lauren says Uncommon Sense is available from, is that Abe Books or Abe Books? I didn't know that. Wow, okay. So anyway, so I hope that helps. Mona says, I'm so right. Yeah, I'm definitely not left, for sure. So I'm more right than I am left. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. If you have any other questions, people, now is a good time to bring up those questions. It's 10:47. We are coming towards the end of Uncommon Sense. If there are no more questions, I will close this program and allow you to have a great rest of your Friday. Those of you in my time zone, Abe, not Amazon. Oh, really? Okay, how cool is that? I will look that up. If you could post that link there, Lawrence, that would be really great. Abe Books, and I would be curious to know, because I'm in control of almost all my books, and I don't remember Abe Books, because right now, because I am one man doing everything. I've closed a major company down, and my operation is being run by 3 people, me, myself, and I. And so far, this Trinity has been doing all the work. So my brother is Vin. He is my brother is an angel in my life, not just a huge part of my life. I think I have allowed myself to fail so much, and allowed my quote-unquote friends, even the people who started the company here in Singapore and all of that, they just took everything they could from me. They took everything. And they're all smug about it, and they don't remember what they did. And it's so funny. I have no bitterness for them. It's just sad that it could have been so much better, but it wasn't. And so when I was reduced to nothing, I met a lot of unkind people, some very close to home. And the things they have said and done will not be erased easily from my brain. But every bit of kindness. So my father, my brother, I don't even know how to say thank you adequately. When I didn't think much of myself, they restored my sense of balance and my dignity. It was tough, very tough. This is the and that's why I'm not so harsh on my son, because I know he's done well, he's succeeded, he's failed a lot as well, and I want him to fail more, because then he learns resilience. But at some point, it becomes so hard, and so the three people in my life, my father, my mother, my brother, have given me indescribably. I owe my life to them. And if any of these plans reach the billion people that I want to reach on this planet through the foundation and through what we do to free them, then I owe everything to them, and humanity owes everything to these people. That in the time when I thought that I didn't have what it took to continue, they reminded me that I can. My father, who reminded me that never say die, that's his motto. My mother, who is my number one fan in the world. And my brother, who is not everybody gets a chance to meet angels, and I get to see this man every day. I get to talk to him whenever I can. Angel. There's no other word for him. Just, he's not angelic by any means, but an angel manifestation. And if he I don't know what to say. Just overcome. At this point, Ashok will be telling me things like that I'm allowing my feminine energy to speak to my masculine energy, and therefore the two of them are together. And if Joycelyn, if I cry tears of gratitude and a prayer for their help, being, and there's nothing I can say. Thanks is not enough. Just, there's nothing I won't do for all of them. The unkind folks, they can kiss my ass, but I don't think of them very much. Let me solve some problems here. I don't have the uncommon sense. You know what? Uncommon sense will go online inside of 2 months, and you'd be surprised. Denzel Washington has very good motivational speeches about failures. Yes, he does. He's a very, very driven man, very powerful. Mona wants to know if my brother is older or younger. He's younger, but he actually acts like he's older than me. Jacqueline says, "You're so blessed." I am incredibly blessed. Ashok is mountain climbing. That's right. He's climbing some mountain somewhere, and I didn't know about that. Anyway, people, thank you for listening. I hope you all have a chance to put this on your walls. One day when we get a little bit more steady and I start to move this entire operation that's on my study desk right now into my studio, I need to wait for one or two other equipment to come. And as soon as they come, then I'm moving to the studio and we broadcast from there. So the lights are coming in, everything else is coming in. The microphones, the ones that work better than this are coming. And we start to produce programs that I can, Smoky Mountains, there you go. Then we'll start to produce video and audio programs that will, change the world slowly, bit by bit. And Ashok is the proponent of coming in touch with your feminine energy. Because, he talks about feminine energy, he talks about femininity, he talks about all of this. And I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, I chimed in by talking about the yin energy and how all magic is done through the yin energy and how manifestation is done through yin energies. But the focus, I think, went into, for him, finding a soulmate, quote unquote. So bless his heart. I hope on the Smoky Mountains he finds himself what he's looking for in those energies. So anyway, it's Friday. The weekend is coming up. Thank you for paying attention. Next week, we'll broadcast again from Wednesday. And if I can, I'll do it earlier than that. Wednesday and Friday is this broadcast. If I have a little bit more time and everything goes according to plan this weekend, I might be running every day for the next week or so. And we'll run and try and keep it to about an hour. And that would be very good as well. You want me to share some forgiveness and love next time, Dr. Mel? Love of a father to a daughter. It should be along a good story. Let's wait for Ashok. It's fun to be on board too. Great, Jacqueline. There'll be Joycelyn. It'll be very good to have you share as well. I love to hear your stories. Your stories will always change a lot of people. You never know who will be inspired by the stories you tell. And maybe next week, Wednesday, because I think I was a little bit incomplete when we talked about feminine energies and masculine energies. We covered the feminine, but we never discussed the masculine energies in relation to femininity and how do we bring it up. Because remember, the Meta Secret is the 7 laws of attraction, and the Meta Secret will reach the world. Probably in 2 months, you'll start to see a big noise reaching out to the world. But to prepare the way, you have to know that one of the laws is the law of gender. That sometimes we have to be yielding and compliant and pliant. And sometimes we have to be hard and unyielding. In either case, you have to have the wisdom to know when to use a feminine force and a masculine force, which we all possess. And we'll talk about that next week. And speaking of our male and female energies, as it does no good sometimes when you harvest something and you can't eat, it does no good to act if we can't feel the results of the action. This is my mirth. This computer just helps me. So here I am, the masculine energy, and there's the feminine energy just generated by a clock announcer from this, and it's always fun. Anyway, there's so much talk these days of masculine and feminine energies and how we've been taught, to be one-sided in how we engage the world, that I believe most of it is sometimes true. You see, when we are dominated by our male side, our over-rational and stoic, never showing our feelings, Our feminine side, our deeper, creative, receptive energies become strident and stifled and explosive when finally allowed to surface. So, not surprisingly, those who are contained and guarded, male or female, are just somewhat frightened by those who are intuitive and expressive, just as those who are more readily impacted by what they feel, they find the unexpressive quite suffocating. And of course, we find each other. And the Stoics grow nervous while the passionate sweat more. This is part of life. We find each other and we pull. But you know, the spinning ever want the still to keep spinning. And the still, they want those who spin to stop. The hush, quiet the drums. The crazed are ever fated to entice statues to dance. They want them to be part of their world. And the statues want them all to be quiet and to move away. We are all struggling with these energies inside of us. My own experience has been very telling. As a man who's always been quite active and decisive in everything I do, I've also, as a poet and a writer, been deeply guided by my female energies, directly and inwardly sometimes, intuitive of life, of feeling, in touch with the parts of me that are full and the parts of me that are broken. But clearly in this outer world, I was well schooled in being very practical. And I was taught never to linger in my own feelings long, because it's only after 10 years of surviving everything that life had taken from me, including a part of my body and stuff, and a life of overachievement, because I wasn't normal. And trying to be an overachiever, trying to be better than anybody else, I have stumbled in and out of joy, in becoming more integrated, more a single wave of masculine and feminine coming together. I can see that I'm learning to use my male energies differently, more in concert with my female energies for the last 10 years. Where I was taught to understand and name things, I now experience and feel things instead. Where I was taught to frame and articulate things at arm's length, I now embrace these things and absorb what is before me. This framing and naming at arm's length is how we have all been encased since childhood in a masculine way of seeing that out of balance is dry, uninformed, and by any passion for life, missing. The difference is between painting a bird and flying, between understanding the secret positions of love and feeling your heart pound. Too often, under the guise of being asked to be prepared and mature, we are seduced into watching over things, into naming over feeling, into understanding over experiencing. And as yet 2 hands cup water to the mouth, we need both male and female energies to drink fully of this life. And the waters that are round and abound are simply that, the waters of life. Every experience comes to us through our hands, our female, our male, our masculine, our feminine, coming together to cup of the rivers of karma, the rivers of life. I'm here on the bank of the river with you. And that's all I am, a friend. I am not your guru. I'm just a teacher. I teach you what I have done wrong and what I hope you never have to do wrong. I teach you where the holes are and where the lions are, and to avoid those places. But along the way, I teach you also not to worry about these things, because now you know where they are. Knowing that, we will meet again on Wednesday next week. Meanwhile, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and if you can, be good to others. It will make your journey that much more pleasant. Good night.